Time for rolling.
Welcome to Time for Rolling eSports, the weekly podcast that brings you Vainglory eSports. From predictions to recaps and analysis, we present to you the best in professional Vainglory. Now here's your hosts, Endless and Crude. It's
Time for rolling.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome to this next episode of Time for Rolling eSports. This is our last episode of 2017. It's crazy that we're here already. Crude and I never would have expected when we started this podcast back in March that we would be at where we are today, that we would still be doing it, still be loving it, and we cannot wait for 2018. I'm gonna do a little write-up, so all my thank yous about 2017. I don't want to sit here and list it on my podcast just because I will probably miss people. But just if you're listening now, you are part of the reason why we are still going. So thank you. We appreciate it so much. 2017 has been crazy. 71 episodes in less than a year has been awesome. We can't wait to see what brings. It comes out of 2018 with 5v5 and everything else. On this episode, we do have Left from Nova, LeftSpectrs from Nova back on. He will be going over VST and MMR with us to help us kind of understand and think about going into 5v5. A lot of people have been talking about hard reset, soft reset, what they kind of want to see going into 5v5 when it comes to ranking system. So we talk a lot about that. We talk about some trolling issues that we've experienced going, and then what we expect going into 5v5, and just a lot of other things about the future of Vainglory. Real quick before we get in this episode, though, let me talk about a few friends of ours. Of course, Mobile Esports is a company focused on all things mobile gaming. They're trying to pioneer the new mobile market. Because as Vainglory says, mobile gamers deserve better, and I really believe mobile gaming is going to be on par with PC gaming in that esports world, and I cannot wait to see the future of mobile gaming altogether. And I know Mobile Esports is going to do community tournaments, community events, all those type of fun things based around tons of mobile games, not just Vainglory. So if you like mobile gaming, always make sure you follow them on Twitter, esports_mobile, and keep up with a bunch of other games. They find new mobile games that they think are going to be really, really strong games. But I definitely can't wait to start bringing them more and more into Vainglory. Then our other friends, of course, is the NACL, North America Champ League. This is a community-run tournament that is run by a great community member that we are doing season 5 starting in January, leading up until the new season. We have Viz, NACL, Halcyon Elite, I believe. We have a lot of small tournaments coming up before the competitive scene in Vainglory 8 starts back up. So these are going to be a fun time. Make sure you sign up. It starts January 15th. I think registration ends kind of soon, but make sure you're going to watch the NACL. There's going to be a lot of great games and a lot of, maybe up-and-coming players, just like Vision Gaming. That's where they play a lot of their games early on to get practice. So if you think you have a team that has what it takes, make sure you sign up. All these links for both our friends and sponsors are in our show notes, so make sure you check them out. But that's all I have. Let's get right into this conversation. Left is home from school, is home from college, so his internet's a little shaky. Bear with us. Nothing we can do about technical issues. Unfortunately, the internet just really, really hates us sometimes. But thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
The right targets. That is one trade. T-Tigers is still pretty healthy. Tries to jump in. He finds one. This is a big turnaround for Liberation X. They might get the third. They might find an ace here onto Lost Boytov. Surrey Strike is not enough. The Godwin goes down. He might go for Donna Twips. He's gonna get one. He's gonna get two. Lost Boytov!
Lost Boytov, he does it. He gets the 2 versus 1 turnaround under the turret.
He lives
too.
too.
Is a god. That gauntlet was.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome to episode 71 of Time for Rolling eSports. I am joined with my co-host, as always, Crude Sloth. How's it going, man?
It's going fantastic. Ready for another fun-filled episode.
And our guest today, who is going to bring us tons of knowledge and explanation of things that Crude and I don't fully understand. We understand it slightly, but Left is gonna help us explain and define VST, MMR, all that nonsense. How's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We are well. We, unlike you, did not just go watch Star Wars. I'm kind of jealous that you got to see it.
Yeah, it was definitely worth watching.
Yeah, I need to see it again and again, probably a few more times before I truly have a final opinion on it. But my first time viewing it was all right.
Yeah, it's definitely really long, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, 2 hours and 36 minutes to be exact. It's a pretty long Star Wars movie. We want to talk about real quick Worlds. Give you your chance to talk about your thoughts and feelings of how Worlds ended up and all the crazy things that happened.
Yeah, I was like completely off with all of my predictions, pretty much.
Yeah, I have your bracket
Detonation
up.
didn't make it out of groups, and I had them winning.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I also found it kind of like, I don't know, not exactly funny, but kind of like in a dark humor way that TSM didn't make it out of groups because Vancy, his bracket did not have TSM making it out of groups either, even though he's on TSM. But yeah, Worlds was really crazy. Like, it was amazing to see all of like the different regional metas coming together. And I mean, in the end, Tribe was able to do it. And yeah, it was amazing to watch, even if it was at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, so did you get to watch much of it, or were you asleep most of the time I mean, did you like watch VODs, or did you try to stay up? How was your sleep schedule?
Yeah, like the first opening night, like when all of those technical issues happened, I tried to stay, and when I realized the sternum, I just kind of quit and went to sleep. Watched all of the VODs the next day, and then I skipped day 2 as well and watched the VODs for that. And then I stayed up for I think half of day 3, and then watched the VODs in the morning. And then on the final day, I slept through the third place game, slept through the 5v5 reel, and then woke up at 6 a.m. to start watching the finals.
You missed the
Slept through the
5v5.
5v5. Yeah.
Yeah, like it started at like what? It started at 3 a.m. for me, so I figured I could just catch up on that later, and the finals started at 6 a.m., so it was like I had to watch the final.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to pick one that you want to view.
Yep.
For us, we were excited to watch the 5v5, and then I mean, obviously the finals still matter, but we were kind of like, it was a little depressing. We were like, man, I don't know how because we were so hyped for that 5v5, and then it goes back to 3v3 for like the Worlds, and we were just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
Yeah, 5v5 is, I don't really know. We haven't really heard yet when the new update for early access golden tickets are coming out. I'm assuming probably the turn of the new year we'll be getting something. More content creators will be getting it. I don't know. Maybe Left secretly has it and has been making videos behind the scenes, but that's something he doesn't reveal. I hope he has. That'd be sweet. But
Oh man, I wish. Like I have a golden ticket and everything, but like the only people close to me who are actually playing on 5v5, like I know Eco is a beta tester for 5v5, so he's been playing some of it, and I think Truth is on there sometimes too, but not all of us actually have been in 5v5.
Yeah, so the main reason why we're having you on today is there's been a lot of topic about the visual skill tier, which is the VST, and the matchmaker rating, which is MMR. And a lot of people are discussing what needs to be done with this going into 5v5 and having a reset. I don't know if you quickly, if you can, want to just explain the difference between the two and maybe tell the listeners what VST is and MMR, which one's important, which one is pointless, or maybe some of your opinions on it.
Yeah, so VST is not really very important at all. All VST is like the little thing that shows where your number is on the tiers.
Right.
And like if you have just hit Vainglorious Bronze for the first time, then your VST, your visual skill tier, is going to be showing you on Vainglorious Bronze, and that's all it is. And then, so what MMR is, MMR means matchmaker rating. And MMR is what's really important. It's what's always going to decide who you're playing against, who you're playing with, what sort of enemies you're going to be, what sort of teammates you're going to be matched up with. It's like MMR is like the pinnacle of the entire matchmaking system. Like every single thing you do in every game gets put into your MMR since you started playing the game. So like if you say like you get to like tier 7 and you blow through tier 7 all bronze, silver, and gold in about a week, and then you make it to tier 8, your MMR is going to like remember that, and maybe you were like only playing a couple of heroes while you were going through tier 7 to tier 8. Your MMR catches that too, and it remembers that and is going to like change your matchups in tier 8 to reflect how you did. So yeah, it's like a really complicated thing.
So tier 8 may be more difficult because it'd be more difficult than someone else's tier 8 because you flew through tier 7 so easily.
Yeah.
So the MMR is what is not seen. It's something that you don't know. We don't know as a player. It's hidden because of all the behind the scenes stuff that Super Evil does, and it's like basically a history bank of every single match possible, which is important to have. Some people don't really understand why is it important to have an MMR versus a VST. And a VST means nothing. Why do we even have it?
Yeah, the VST is there just so like you know where you are, I guess.
Right.
Because if everybody knew where they are based on their MMR, then that would be like really complicated and hard to show. So based on your MMR, the error position from your MMR is what's calculating, I think, how many points you gain and lose for your VST. But I said before that it's like since you started the game, but that's actually not the case for everyone, because a while back, I don't actually remember when, the people that were above the hotness bronze tier 7, they wiped everybody back down to tier 7.
Right.
A complete MMR wipe for all of those players. And it was like no one had any match history anymore above those tiers, and it was complete anarchy, to say the least.
Yeah, it took them a long time for all those like VG10 people that got sent back to tier 7 or hotness, whatever. It took them like months to try to grind and get back to Vainglorious, and it like was really hard at first.
Yeah, because the system had no idea which players were even good anymore. Like, if Iraqi Zoro was playing during that time, I would look at him and say, yeah, that's a professional player, but the system doesn't know anymore, so it might just place him with people that build contraption first on their supports or something like that. And
right. Wait,
that's
you don't do
why
that?
it was no. Actually, not since Shinkaigen played like 5 contraption Catherine in like 2015. I remember that, right when contraption came out, and it did splash damage. It did splash true damage to minion camps and stuff.
Oh god.
But yeah, it was a really different item back then. But yeah, it was some of like the pro players and people that used to be tier 10, it took them months to just get back because it was matching them up with people that they never thought they would see in matchmaking.
So technically, if you are in a match and you see that your skill tier was, let's say, POA, and you get matched with someone who's currently in hotness, just because their VST is that different, that doesn't necessarily mean their MMR isn't closer to yours.
Yeah. So one possible reason for that would be they probably they might have used to be in POA just with you, but they haven't played in a while, so their VST decayed. So like when you decay, the only thing that's decaying is your visual tier. So even if you go down to hotness, but your MMR is in POA, you'll still get matched with POA players once you stop yourself from decaying.
So it doesn't really matter that you decay, basically.
I don't think so. It's only VST. Like the same thing with the dodging penalty that they introduced.
Is only VST. So do you like that, or would it be even possible to have a penalty that actually affects MMR?
I don't think it would be wise to include MMR in the dodging penalty because that might open the door for some people to abuse it by just dodging matches over and over so that they could play with bad players. Because I know there are definitely some people that would get pleasure out of taking a Smurf account and reducing its MMR to 0 so that they can work all the way back up through terrible players.
Yeah, that does make sense. So that
might work better for me. Shoot.
Which this kind of transitions into 5v5 then, and the topic of we're about to start 5v5 next year. I'm assuming most people will play it. You know, some can still stick on the fold on 3v3 and continue to play that if they wish. But when it comes to like the whole ranking system and stuff, like each game mode has its own MMR. So I'm just a little confused, or maybe I don't know if you even know. Like, will 5v5's MMR be the same as what 3v3 was, or like, is there going to be a brand new MMR?
Yeah, I don't actually know, but if I were them, what I would do is just like loosely transfer over everyone's MMR from ranked mode on the Halcyon Fold into the ranked mode for 5v5. So like if you've been playing 3v3 ranked for a long time and you know how Vainglory works, it's not going to be that hard for you to grasp like the very basics of 5v5. So, I mean, since you've just been playing Vainglory this whole time, you're still going to be playing Vainglory with the same items and the same heroes once 5v5 hits. It's just going to be a little bit different. So I think the MMR ratings for 3v3 ranked will transfer well to 5v5.
Right, which makes sense. Now, when people are, I'm going to call out this Twitter conversation. I'm going to use this as a good example. People are asking Nivmet. You know, Nivmet is a person that kind of takes the whole full force brute force of this when it comes to people asking questions about VST and MMR. You know, a lot of people wanted a full VST MMR reset for update 3.0, which is when 5v5 is supposed to officially drop. And, you know, a lot of people say without the full MMR reset, this is Chris_VG. Shout out Chris for giving me content to talk about. But he was saying there's not going to be any growth, and you know it's going to be the same people going against each other. And you know he was pointing out all these reasons, and Nivmet is trying to like explain that if you reset MMR to 0, then you're just going to have Vainglorious players going against brand new players that are in tier 2, and he's like it would just be a disaster, and it would be like that for months until the VG players can grind back to VG10.
Yeah, and I think I saw that conversation while it was happening, and Nivmed is really right on them. I think when people ask for a complete MMR reset, they have like a sized view of it, like they'll just party with their friends and get right back to where they were, and people that they perceive as boosted or not deserving of Vainglorious will never make it back at all, and somehow the game will be better. But for most people that don't three-man ranked queue all the time, it's just going to be complete anarchy. And like I remember Nivmet said that when they did that, like that was the biggest spike in negative game reviews they ever had.
Right. Which is interesting to see, just because so many people, again, don't understand the difference between VST and MMR, which is good to have articles out there and other content that truly explains the difference, because just because your VST goes back down to just beginning or whatever it would be, doesn't mean your MMR does. Like if you're, even though it says just beginning, you're still going to be playing against other players your skill tier. Just like they said, like when they did the soft reset, you don't lose any elo until you get back to your original skill tier in the first place, which was what some people had an issue with, whether or not that was an issue. Um, I know another thing I wanted to bring up and talk to you about. Are you familiar with Overwatch at all? Do you play Overwatch or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I play Overwatch with Truth all the time.
So in Overwatch, they have placement matches, right? In order to kind of like figure out where you start.
Yep.
Is that, I don't even know like how that works. Is that something that would be possible in Vainglory to have?
I have absolutely no clue how the Overwatch placement matches work. Truth and Starting All Over seem to think that it's like the percentage of the match that you're on fire for in Overwatch, or it has something to do with the medals and the kills you get, or just whether or not you win or lose. Even like some people say that if you're playing a healer in Overwatch, you'll get like placed lower or something like that. But yeah, I have no clue how their placement matches work, but I think placement matches are a good idea. Like I don't know. I think it gives the player like at least a feeling of control over where they go in the rank net.
Yeah, I wonder if those placement matches, if you would be allowed to be in a full party of 5, or if they would make those placement matches to be solo queue.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I guess, I mean, if they were going to do it like Overwatch, there wouldn't be any rules about that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have discussed the whole ELO and other systems and other games, and it's been an issue in tons of other games. Tons of other games have had major problems with ranking as well. And a lot of people's points are if everyone's VG10, I put everyone in parentheses, I'm not VG10, but what is there to work for in the game? Like, what's the point of having the ranking system in the first place? So, I mean, I don't have any answers or ideas just because I'm not up there in that tier range. And I don't know what else you have that you've thought about when it comes to the ranking system in Vainglory.
Yeah, like for me, when I got to tier 10 for the first time, it was just kind of like yeah, you made it, you finally here. And if you're not like super invested in Vainglory, but you took the time to get to Vainglorious, then that's just kind of where it ends. There's not much after that the game can offer for you if casually, and you hit the top. But for me, when I got to Vainglorious Bronze, I figured that I could probably get really involved in the community and maybe like start building something for myself in the esports side of Vainglory. And I used making Vainglorious as like kind of a launch pad for that. So there is stuff after Vainglorious Bronze, but you have to like look for it and you have to want it, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not currently in the game right now. There isn't really an end game in the app.
Yeah. I mean, at one point there was like tons, or not, there was not as many like Vainglory Gold. Like, it was hard to get to VG Gold. And like now, currently, is it pretty common for tons of people to be Vainglorious Gold?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people really overestimate the amount of the player base that's in Vainglorious Bronze, Silver, and Gold combined. Like, I remember Nivmet saying that we're like 1 or 200ths of the player base. Like 0.02% of the player base is in Vainglorious Bronze and above. But once you start connecting with all of the different players in Vainglorious Bronze and above, like Silver and Gold, like you join Vainglory Discord servers, be a part of the community on Twitter, it seems a lot bigger than it really is, and you're like, oh, everybody's Vainglorious Bronze. But in reality, there's only about 2,500 people if you look on vgpro.gg, and if you go back down to tier 7, there's like the hundreds of thousands or whatever. Probably not that many, but it's like an exponential difference. It's crazy.
Yeah, which is interesting to see what's the difference between people that get to VG10 versus people that get, quote, stuck in ELO hell, which ELO hell is a thing that people kind of debate if it's even real or whether it's just your personal attitude / whatever, how you attack each game. I mean, I know Dowsey has been someone who's talked about elo hell a lot and how it's really just mind over matter. You have to grind through those middle stages because a lot of people say they're just stuck at tier 6 and tier 5 and there's nothing they can do about it.
I would definitely agree with Dowsey there. I don't think Elo Hell exists. I think while you're quote unquote you think you're in Elo Hell, that should be you like perfecting your mechanics so that when the time comes you can move up. Like how I like to think of it is for every match that you get somebody who just sits in base and plays a scout traps, there are tons of other players in the world who are also getting a person like that, and it'll probably happen to the people on the other team next game. And there are just so many players in the system that there's no way that anything bad is happening to you more than it is some other person.
Right. Which it comes down to if someone is quitting and trolling in your game, do you just get tilted with them, or do you just like, fine, we'll lose this game, I'll just continue to try my best and work on last hitting for the rest of this game even though I know we're not going to win? Like, it can be the difference of that and just quitting.
Yeah, and when that happens to me, because it even happens in Vainglory still a ton, like there's a few people that you just want to dodge, but you also don't want to take the VST hit for the dodging penalty. But after playing Vainglory for so long, through so many games in ranked, I just kind of take it, oh well, this is just something that happens when you play online games, and there's not really anything I can do about it except move on to the next game.
Yeah, so I mean, Crude mentioned to me, we had a little argument about 5v5, about how is it going to be, now we have 10 players in a match, that's going to cause more trolling, or is it going to be, that's kind of what he had said, and then I kind of said, well, maybe it's going to be like, if, let's say Crude's side, if one person's trolling, and then I was like, well, now we have 4 people against 5, and it's much easier to win a 4v5. And then Creed's like, well, what if 2 people are trolling? I was like, okay, now if 2 people are trolling in one game, now we have a problem.
I mean, if you think about it, you're adding the amount of players in the game. I mean, like let's if there were 6 players on each team, and you're when you're in the 3v3 1-1, I mean, it's not that far off. Yeah, I mean, you'll be really unlucky if you have 2 players on the same team trolling as bad as that. Like, I don't expect that to happen a lot, but still, I don't know. I still feel like that, like a 4v5 could still swing it just as much as a 3v2. I mean, it's the same idea.
So I was talking to a few of my friends that are really into League of Legends, like when 5v5 was starting to be rumored and talked about, and what they said was that when you have like a 4v5 because somebody is throwing in League of Legends in a game like that, where there's obviously 10 people in the game instead of 6 people in the game. So having a 4-on-5 is way better than a 2-on-3 because you've still got 80% of your team instead of 66.6% of your team. They said that what happens to them is they actually win. They actually have a chance to win in a 4-on-5 because the map is so much bigger and there's so many things that you can still do with 4 people. When you have it 2v3, there's not much you can do. I mean, you can hold out, you can maybe contest for a while, even get some kills if the enemy team's disorganized, but once the Kraken spawns, there's not really anything you can do anymore because the enemy team will just group up there and you have to face them head on, and you can't face them head on 2-on-3. But 4v5, there's so much more room for strategy and shot calling between people that are in comms. Like, if you're missing one player, you're a lot better off than you are on the Halcyon Fold.
Right. I think it'll be easier to not. It won't be as easy to piss people off on 5v5 too. Like, there's gonna be a lot more roles, so someone will maybe be less likely to be forced into something they can't do. So I mean, they're gonna have players less likely to get upset if they have to do captain, and who knows what we'll see the roles kind of change anyway. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think Crude is right that we'll still probably see just as much trolling, but I don't think it's gonna be as tilting when it comes to the RN for the people that aren't trolling in the match.
Yeah, there's going to be just as much like bad behavior and people throwing matches, but it's just not going to have as much of an effect because of the amount of players in the game, I don't think.
Yeah, I've played a few AOV games already. which we're not going to get into whether it's good or not. But I mean, I've had fun games here and there, and I've played a couple games where I had an AFK that didn't play, and we actually won 4-on-5, and I still felt like team fights were going decently well, and we weren't just getting destroyed because we were down one person. So that's what I'm mainly interested in 5v5, is just how it really does change how people like react and actually interact in match. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if we want to get like your last thoughts of 5v5. I know you've probably already said it once. I just want to make sure we kind of wrap it up and get our in whatever you would say in conclusion. What do you want to see when it comes to 5v5 as ranked? When it comes to ranked, do you want the VST and MMR not necessarily to get fully reset, maybe like a soft reset?
I think if they are going to do a reset, I think a softer one is probably the better way to go. Like maybe compress the people that are from 8 to 10 down to 8, the people that are from 4 to 6 down to 4, and so on, so that you're still playing with people that generally have as much knowledge about the game as you do. And if they really want to do placement matches, I think that's a cool idea, and I'm not really opposed to it. I just kind of hope they work.
Yeah, I mean, they can't hurt trying.
Yeah, because in Overwatch, I watched a guy on Twitch, like this Grandmaster dude that only plays Symmetra. And he basically just jumped off the map and killed himself in all of his placement matches, and it placed him back in Grandmaster because of his MMR.
Nice.
So yeah, if they were gonna do placement matches, I would hope they would keep all of the MMR there and still, to an extent, have the MMR decide where you end up.
I feel like MMR is just this grand thing that rules over all of us, and there's nothing you can do to like get around it.
Yeah, I guess the way you get around it is by winning a lot of games and changing it yourself.
All right, so main thing really is VST is just for the players to have a visual representation of kind of quote unquote where they are, but it really doesn't matter because MMR is the full every match you've played. It keeps track of, like you said, maybe some heroes that you've been playing more. It tracks patterns, that kind of stuff, to try to put you as closely to where you're supposed to be. One thing we never really mentioned, of course, which we don't have to completely describe it, but if you're playing against another team that has the exact MMR as you, or like you have just as high of chance as winning that match, then you're going to only lose elo or gain elo, slightly. But if you're playing against a team that is much higher than you in the MMR, and Matchmaker thinks that you have not as high of a chance to win, and you do happen to beat that team, like if you were VG Bronze against a VG Silver, then you'd get more of the quote-unquote ELO or MMR. So, that's basically how we break down those two, each category of VST, MMR. It'll be interesting to see what Vainglory continuously does to try to fix it. I'm not necessarily saying it's broken, but I think they're always trying to fix it over there at the layer, or tweak it and listen to player and community ideas. So I think it's good to hear some ideas from coaches, analysts, and players directly from the community.
Yeah, and I think they're always trying to make it better, but I can't imagine how annoying it is for Nivmet, because what does not help Nivmet is people screaming, "I got stuck with a troll in tier 6. This is obviously the matchmaker's fault. Fix your broken game." Because I can't imagine how much of that he has to deal with, and there's no remedy for that. That's not even like a fair thing to say.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say fix your broken game. I get annoyed when I see like the screenshots on Twitter as well. I've posted one myself. But when people more of just blame the developers for it happening and saying, why do these people still play this game? Why do they still have an account? Why are they not just permanently banned? That's a whole nother conversation about getting in. How does SCMC actually deal with this issue of trolls and that kind of stuff? I don't think it's as simple as some people hope it to be. You mess up one game, you get banned for life. I don't think that's really an answer here.
Yeah, it's a really difficult problem to address, especially for a company that's as small as Super Evil is. Like, I know that Valve got around the cheating problem by in CS:GO. There's so many hackers in CS:GO, or at least there used to be, until Valve introduced phone number verification for every account. So if you wanted to get around a ban and play again with hacks, you'd have to buy an entirely new phone with a new phone number.
Wow.
That would kill the smurfing problem pretty quickly too. We just I don't know how that would roll out because I've never played CS:GO.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that legit have like 8 accounts out there that are all Vainglory as bronze.
Yeah, I know I have too, and I've played against so many pro players Smurf accounts before. But yeah, it's a really difficult problem that I don't think they should be focusing on right now because they got to get 5v5 out in a perfect state.
Yeah, well, you know how some people in this community are. They expect SEMC to figure everything out at the same time and as quick as possible.
Just a little
Yeah,
toxic.
sometimes I feel tempted to like actually my next YouTube video is going to be about what you do when you encounter a troll because and like the whole message of the video is just going to be you ignore him and play like he's not there and you move on to the next game like nothing happened. Like
Yeah.
I recorded a full match of this Arden player who like Arden's a good pick and draft, but I'm gonna hover weapon carry even though I picked Arden for us. And then we didn't swap for him, so he built all weapon power and ran into the turrets the whole game.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna use that as background gameplay, and yeah.
And it's hard for me to not look at that player and say, yeah, you should never play this game again, just because it's like I get triggered and my quote unquote trolling will never be like purposely like throwing the game, like building something stupid or like just running into turrets. And I think people that do that are I don't know how I can't just say they shouldn't play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough conversation to have. There'd be a lot more people we'd have to get involved to get everyone's thoughts and feelings when it comes to trolling and banning. But hey, Left, you said you're home from school on break right now, aren't you?
Yep, I am.
So you have to deal with this internet for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I can't really stream on it because the bitrate is like too high, even though my bitrate is only at medium. Like when I first started streaming, I was streaming from home, and like it would cut out like every half hour, and all my viewers would go away.
I mean,
So yeah,
being from the Midwest, I feel your pain with the crappy internet at home. That's why I love being at college because my internet is way faster than it is at home. So.
yep. I'll be back in like January 8th, 9th, I think. So that'll be nice. I can start streaming again.
Yeah. All right. Well, any last comments, Left or Crude, about MMR VST? I think we kind of summed up most of it. Thanks for everyone sticking around and trying to. I don't think he lagged too much. We had a few errors there. I don't think anyone's going to hear those errors if I do my editing skills to the appropriate level.
Yeah. I'm just really excited for 5v5 in general. I was pretty skeptical about it when they first started teasing it, but now that I've actually seen it, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to fix everything, but I have hopes that some things will be less of an issue in 5v5. Could be. We'll have to see, though. All right, Left. Well, when you go back to school and you get I'll be definitely interested in the video. I make sure to retweet the Arden video because I'm gonna have to watch that and learn myself how to properly deal with a troll. I think that'll be good for some of the community members. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your break. I hope you can play Vainglory if you aren't lagging too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Like I can play ranked without it kicking me out, but like sometimes it does, so it's like I feel unsafe to play ranked. But oh well.
All right, well, thanks for coming on and trying to break down this VST MMR conversation and giving your opinion about what you would like to see SCMC do and what you kind of expect for how it to work out with 5v5. Of course, really appreciate it, and good luck with 5v5 for 2018. I'm excited to see how the team turns out.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for tuning in to Time for Rolling. If you liked what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes or Google Play Music and subscribe for weekly episodes. Follow us on Twitter at Time for Rolling and at TFR_esports. Until next week for another edition of
Time for rolling.